Several states in the union still can't get together and figure out exactly how many votes that they have for each candidate and who has won. And no, I promise you, I'm not telling you yesterday's news. This is still the case as we go along. Nobody has any idea what's going on, and we may even get further. Lawsuits are introduced, and criminal referrals are introduced from Nevada as well, so we'll talk a bit about that. Oklahomans still have no power 9 days after an ice storm hits their state, and we'll see what's happening there. And Trump gives a speech, and the mainstream news can't report on it, but they can report on everything that's wrong with it. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to today. The stack is stacked. I think this might be the longest show that we're going to have today. Well, at least as per articles. We're going to try and fly through this and get through everything and get everybody off to their day on work. But oh man, there's just so much. Nobody can agree what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. And everybody thinks that they've won at this point or they're going to win eventually. So we will sit back and we will unwind as much of it as we can. Keep in mind that the Beltway is influencing it. So there may be some information that's not to be had because they're too stupid to report on it. But before we do anything, head on over to freedomscoop.com. freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as the R-Rated Conservative, the Generational Gap. We also carry the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the Daily Ignoramus, and the Freckles and Brit Show. So come on over there. Check out all of the shows that we have over here. Check out all my friends because they are my friends at this point. They started out as work acquaintances, but now they're friends. Check them all out, pick up some of our swag, and help us support great creators. Alright, moving along here, getting into the stocks right away. The markets were up all day yesterday. Another 542 points up, which means that we are edging back closer to that 29,000 mark. But the futures for today tell another story because, as usual, the markets hate uncertainty and nobody knows what the ever-loving fuck is going on. Let's see what the investors have to say, starting with IBD. Dow Jones Futures fall after huge post-election stock market rally. Roku, Square key earnings movers from Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures fell solidly early Friday along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures, suggesting a pause after a huge stock market rally on election results. Mega-cap stocks such as Apple and Microsoft are flashing buy signals. After the close, Roku stock, Square, Cloudflare, Axon, Trade Desk, T-Mobile, and Peloton were among the many notable earnings reports. Roku, Square, Cloudflare, Axon, Trade Desk, T-Mobile, and Peloton all beat quarterly earnings with views, with Roku streaming in a surprise profit, but Peloton stock rose overnight. T-Mobile stock and Axon are flirting with buy points. Meanwhile, China electric car makers, which have been skyrocketing and adding to gains late Thursday, oh no, we release virus, then you buy our car, might be taking a breather. NIO, XPeng Motors, and Li Auto retreated sharply overnight, though Li and NIO have paired losses and XPeng has now moved higher. Tesla, which has been more subdued, retreated slightly. Li Auto is recalling some Li 1 electric SUVs due to a suspension issue, after admitting there was a problem a day earlier. Tesla also recently recalled many US-made Model S vehicles in China for suspension issues, but the company said the problem is Chinese drivers. Ha ha! I love that. Alright. Wednesday's strong gain confirmed a stock market rally on the Dow Jones and S&P 500. The major indices and leading stocks continued their powerful advance on Thursday, with the Nasdaq staging its own follow-through day. The Dow Jones closed well above its 50-day line. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 index rallied to just below their mid-October peaks. Microsoft, looking a lot like Nasdaq and S&P 500, continues to flash buy signals. Apple, Amazon, and Salesforce also are offering early entries. Now, Facebook and Google parent Alphabet rose further in their buy ranges. Several more leading stocks cleared buy points Thursday, including 2-4, Yeti, and Palantir. Is that 2-4 or 2-6? Am I just that dumb, or is it that early? I think it's 2-6. Hi, math teachers. I remember my Roman numerals. While recent breakouts extended gains. All right, let's look at the futures here. Dow Futures fell 0.9% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures sank 1%. NASDAQ 100 futures retreated 1.1%. Remember that overnight action in Dow Jones and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. But Dow futures have pointed to strong market gains in the past few sessions. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time Friday, 18 minutes ago, the October unemployment rate report is due. That is sure to move Dow futures before the open. So we will see what happens there. Let's keep going here. CNBC will have the counter. Dow futures fall more than 200 points following post-election day rally. From Fred Imbert and Jesse Pound. U.S. stock futures sank early Friday as Wall Street eyed its best week since April, even as the results of the presidential election remained unclear. Futures tied to Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 259 points or 0.9%, while futures for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 slid 1% and 1.2% respectively. Wall Street was coming off its fourth straight positive session on Thursday, and the major averages were on track for their best week since April 9th. The S&P 500 and the Dow are up 7% so far this week. The tech-heavy NASDAQ composite has led the way with nearly 9% gain. The sharp rally follows a slump in the prior week. So that's going down. I don't know if it's going down for you guys too, but gas is down considerably where I live, like 20 cents over last week, which is awesome because I'm actually due for a fill-up again too. So that's going to make life a lot easier on the fill-up market because I carry 33 gallons at a time. So that'll be nice for that. We'll see what happens with that. The futures are down. Oil prices are stabilizing, and we'll see what happens off of this. But remember, everybody, and remind everybody in the chat, or if you see somebody lurking or you see the numbers going up, today is the day that I read and thank everybody who chatted throughout the week. So make sure that you don't lurk. At least get one message in today, and I will read your name. And thank you for watching. Let's get into the news. And I want to start with something one of my friends posted over on Twitter, because it goes a little bit into what I was talking about yesterday. So Fritz from Fritzcast tweeted out, yes, the Democrats massively coordinated a steal for the election while allowing Mitch McConnell to remain in control of a Republican majority Senate and even conceded House seats. What a ploy. Here comes the unfettered socialism. And I talked about this yesterday, and there were a couple things that go along with this, because I don't necessarily believe that this is entirely something to do with changing the structure of the government, as I pointed out yesterday. And this actually makes me even more suspicious that this was a coordinated effort to change the presidency. As I mentioned yesterday, I want to make sure that you guys remember what I said. And that is this. When I look at this, when I look at what's going on with this, and when I see everything that's happening with this, I don't necessarily think that this is all about getting, well, obviously this is about getting Trump out of office, but I don't necessarily think this is about pulling in control of the government right now. And once again, I look back at the Lincoln Project and the fact that all these Republicans and all these war hawks are sitting here getting behind Biden when the Democrat Party hated these fucking war hawks when Bush was in office and utilizing the talents of these war hawks. I still think, and tell me if I'm wrong. edsblogtwitter@gmail.com. Send me an email. Send me a tweet over at edsblogtwitter with a 1 in place of the I. Tell me if I'm wrong. Absolutely tell me if I'm wrong. But I do think that after it was determined from the SDNY that a president couldn't be investigated while he was in office for crimes as a civilian or even from previous offices held, even though that doesn't apply to Trump, I'm sure that'll apply to everybody else. Once I realized that they couldn't investigate someone who was in office, it made a lot more sense as to why everybody dropped out in lockstep, paving the way to get Joe Biden to the nomination. and then now for an all-out push to make sure Joe Biden's the president, especially with what we know about the Ukraine right now from Hunter Biden's laptop. Hurry up, get him into the presidency so he can't be investigated for anything, and hold him up at the top of the nomination so that any investigation into him looks as partisan as possible so they won't go anywhere and do anything with it. A lot of this seems really, really coordinated, and the fact that it mostly revolves around the presidency and nothing else tells me that there's something else going on. And I do think that on both sides of the aisle, the Lincoln Project people, the Never Trump Republicans, the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, all these long-term establishment figures had their hands in the same cookie jar that Biden did. That's the only Occam's razor solution that I can come up with for why there is such a coordinated attempt. And yet, the House and the Senate are still going for Republicans, or in a Republican-leaning manner. Not necessarily going for them. There is something else going on here that we don't see. And, as I also mentioned, the other big thing for trying to get Trump out is so that he can be prosecuted while the statute of limitations for the crimes that the SDNY supposedly has on him can be prosecuted, and he can be put away and have the book thrown at him to try and discourage the rest of us from ever trying to run for public office again. There is something else going on here. You just got to follow the bouncing ball. Let's see what the Daily Wire has to say. Trump campaign scores another win in Pennsylvania courts. Some ballots lacking voter ID info must be set aside, from Tim Pierce. The Trump campaign notched a second win in Pennsylvania court on Thursday after a judge ruled that some ballots lacking voter information should be set aside and not yet counted. The decision from Mary Hannah Leavitt, the president judge on the Commonwealth Court in Pennsylvania, came through on Thursday afternoon. She ordered that all ballots received between November 9th through the 12th that lack voter information on them should be separated out and not counted pending further instruction of the court. The County Board of Elections shall segregate ballots for which identification is received and verified on November 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2020 from ballots for which identification is received and verified on or before November 9th, 2020, the court order says. The segregation for which identification is received and verified on November 10th, 11th, 12th, 2020 shall not be counted until further order of this court. We're not going to do anything until every ballot is counted, you see. Come on, man. And there is the order right there. University of California Irvine law professor Rick Hansen, a CNN election law analyst, said the court ruling is unlikely to affect the end outcome of whoever wins the state of Pennsylvania between Trump and Biden. Hansen tells me that he doubts that this will be a big deal, with the caveat being that Pennsylvania count is super close when it was 200,000 people out just a couple days ago. This order would set off a race to obtain the relevant voter info by the November 9th deadline set out by the judge, the Hill reporter John Krusel said. The court decision, which was pushed for by the Trump campaign, comes on the heels of an earlier court win in Pennsylvania, in which the court ordered state election officials to allow GOP observers within 6 feet of the ballot canvassing process. Trump touted that the decision was a big legal win in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania remains a key battleground state and central to the Trump campaign's stated pathway to victory. If Trump can hold on to his leads in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina, and flip Arizona, with outstanding ballots still being counted, Trump will win re-election. So that's what we're seeing up out of Pennsylvania. And now we're seeing other things happening out of Georgia. This is starting to get to be an old article at this point because this whole news cycle is going lightning fast. Let's keep going here from CBS 3 Philly. Philly mail-in ballot counting continues after stop for a short time as President Trump holds slim lead in Pennsylvania. From CBS 3 staff. In Pennsylvania, the race between President Trump and Biden is tightening. The president's lead slipped through the day, Thursday, as more votes were counted, and still, there are thousands more ballots that need to be counted. The process of counting the votes has prompted protests from both Biden and Trump supporters, as a large demonstration took place outside the Pennsylvania Convention Center. Pennsylvania Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar says it's possible the Commonwealth may know a winner tonight, but that's more likely to come on Friday. Philadelphia has resumed its mail-in ballot counting after it was stopped for a short time Thursday morning due to a court order. President Trump still has a lead of 90,000 votes in the Keystone State. I'm going to shut down the oil industry, man. Trump campaign senior advisor Corey Lewandowski posted a video online today of an attorney he says is Michelle Hangley, who represented Philadelphia in this morning's hearing. Lewandowski can be heard arguing with her over why the city won't comply with the judge's order. The court order is in effect, Lewandowski said while speaking outside the Pennsylvania Convention Center. Lewandowski explained an appellate court sided with the Trump campaign earlier today by allowing political observers to be within 6 feet of ballot counters inside the convention center. 6 feet, social distancing! Previously, observers had to be at least 20 feet away. The Commonwealth Court said they had to be allowed closer, so Philadelphia had to reconfigure their operations to allow that. They had appealed because I think their operations worked better the way they had it arranged, but they're complying with the court order and appealing it, Bukvar said. The order went into effect at 10:30 a.m., but Lewandowski says the city did not immediately enforce it. So that's what we're seeing out of that. Philadelphia still has no idea what's going on. From the New York Post, recently reinstated on Twitter. Philadelphia vote count resumes after temporary stoppage as Democrats appeal ruling from Bruce Golding. Vote counting efforts in Philadelphia were temporarily suspended Thursday following a court order that granted President Trump's campaign closer access to oversee the operation, according to reports. The count resumed shortly after noon, the Philadelphia Inquirer said. This is a lot of the same information from the local story, so we're going to bypass this one, especially with all the rest of it that we have going here. From the Daily Wire, Trump team confronts Philly officials for violating judge's election order. This is a joke. From Amanda Prestigiacomo. The Trump campaign won a massive legal battle on Thursday, allowing Republican observers to be 6 feet from the ballot counting process in the hotly contested state of Pennsylvania. Previously, observers were pushed back from 16 to 100 feet away from the ballot counting process. The legal order, however, is not being effectively enforced, former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi argued. While they pushed barricades around the ballot counting to 6 feet, she said the ballot machines have been pushed to the back of the room far beyond the 6 feet barrier outlined in the legal ruling. Philadelphia update. Judge orders observers allowed in ballot counting. We were still denied access to all voting, so all voting has ceased. Bondi celebrated on Twitter at around 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We plan on entering that building right now and legally observing, Bondi has also said, according to the New York Daily News. If there's one illegal vote cast, it takes away from the great men and women of Pennsylvania who came out and issued a legal vote. Adding an update nearly 2 hours later, Bondi claimed, "This is a joke. They moved the fence up but moved the ballot machines back. This is offensive for the great people of Pennsylvania who voted and deserve a fair election," the Republican added. Corey Lewandowski later posted a video of Bondi and himself speaking with a private lawyer working on behalf of the city about the order. Here in Philadelphia, with former Democratic candidate for Judge Michelle Hangley, who is paid for by city taxpayer money, while refusing to allow us to meaningfully observe a court order, he captioned the audio, "Ask why." In the video, Hangley contends they're not violating the order. Let's have a listen.
The order is pretty clear. I've been a lawyer for 30 years. What can you tell us what's unclear about it? You're a private lawyer and acting in the government capacity.
I'm a private lawyer who represents the city.
Great.
The city is evaluating it, and I can't tell you anything more than
They're
that.
evaluating a judge's order?
What the order means, and when they're ready to talk to you about it, they will. But I can assure you that they're not violating it under any...
The order is currently in effect.
Michelle,
They're not violating
you
the order
guys
under
had
any
8
interpretation.
attorneys. I think it was 8 attorneys entering your appearance on this. I don't understand why 8 attorneys need to evaluate this order. I did it all by myself.
Okay.
It says that no later than 10:30 today, You're to follow the election code, and my people, my clients, representatives, are to be within 6 feet of the process.
We have read the order, and we are complying with the order, and we will discuss it with you in a bit.
The compliance is 6 feet.
The order's pretty clear.
The worst part is all these stupid fucking masks, and you can't understand or hear a word that they're saying. Let's keep going. From the Blaze, stop tech censorship. Moving on to Georgia. Georgia Secretary of State said this morning there were under 25,000 uncounted ballots remaining. Now his office claims there are over 60,000. So yes, this number keeps changing. And we see the meme of the comic of everybody pulling the emergency Democrat ballots out of the back of the truck. Is that what's happening here? Who knows? We're never going to get a straight answer out of this election. Because there's so much at stake. From Phil Shiver. There are still about 60,000 ballots left to count in Georgia as the presidential race there comes down to the wire, Georgia Secretary of State's office announced in a press conference Thursday morning. In a press release, the office confirmed that as of 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time, there were approximately 61,367. Wow, that's pretty approximate. Outstanding mail-in absentee ballots that remain uncounted. The updated number came as a surprise to many watching the election closely, as only hours before, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger indicated that the number of uncounted ballots was under 25,000. During the press conference, when asked about the discrepancy, Georgia's statewide voting system implementation manager Gabriel Sterling explained that the number could fluctuate as counties intermittently report results. He even said that some of the discrepancy could be due to the simple human error of precinct workers forgetting to hit upload. So we'll see what's happening there. He also described the number of absentee ballots as a moving target, but assured that all things were proceeding smoothly and accurately. Important reminder on what counties' precincts reporting means on SOS website. Update, the Secretary of State's office says there are actually 50,000 to 60,000 uncounted ballots remaining as of 8:30 a.m., more than initially thought this morning. And honestly, it's been memed about, it's been talked about. People know that stuff like this goes on left and right. I have a hard time believing that shit like this hasn't been going on since the inception of this country. Changing the political race and the politics behind it to get a certain outcome or another outcome. That's not new stuff. None of this is new stuff. But on the other side of it, on something that's as contested as this. I mean, who was excited for Republicans before Donald Trump? And who was excited to get rid of Donald Trump before there was Donald Trump? I promise you, shit like this has been going on forever, but now it's actually being watched, paid attention to. I also find it funny that we can listen to 4 years of, this election was rigged. Rigged. It was the Russians. It was rigged. It was rigged. He cheated. For 3-4 years. And everybody calls it gospel news. But now that it's going the other way, and people are saying that it was rigged and there was cheating, now it's an unfounded conspiracy theory that nobody has another word for. So there's some definite double standards going on here, but as I said last week, if the left didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. So we will see what happens out of Georgia, but definitely a race to watch. Let's keep going. From the Hill, Nevada Republican Party sends criminal referral to DOJ alleging thousands of cases of voter fraud. From Celine Castronuovo, the Nevada Republican Party, I bet you I've got autoplay going here. The Nevada Republican Party announced Thursday evening that it has sent a criminal referral to U.S. Attorney General William Barr with allegations that the state had 3,602 cases of voter fraud. The criminal complaint comes as news outlets have yet to announce a projected winner in the race between President Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden, with the Trump campaign and GOP having already filed multiple unsuccessful legal challenges in the southwestern state. Our lawyers just sent a criminal referral to AG Barr regarding at least 3,062 votes, or instances rather of voter fraud, the Nevada Republican Party wrote in a tweet. We expect that number to grow substantially. Thousands of individuals have been identified who appear to have violated the law by casting ballots after they moved from Nevada. There's never a case of voter fraud. There are negative cases of voter fraud. Just ask the mainstream media. The Washington Post reported that the party's lawyers sent Barr a list of voters identified by cross-checking voter registration names and addresses with the National Change of Address database. Nevada law allows residents to cast ballots after moving out of state if they're serving in the military, a spouse of someone in the military, or attending school. It seems a little fishy, but, 50 individual elections, so if that's the way the legislature ruled, then I guess we'll have to go to the Supreme Court and check the constitutionality of it, but as far as I can tell, by Article 2, Section 1, everything should be above board. But there are some things to watch with it. The ACLU of Nevada pointed out in a tweet Thursday, following the criminal referral announcement that voters in the state do not lose their eligibility to vote when they leave the state temporarily. The ACLU of Nevada is watching to be sure this election remains fair, and we are prepared to fight if any serious cases are filed, Nikki Levy, a Nevada ACLU staff attorney, wrote in the tweeted statement. And honestly, if it was for a military move, a base move like that, if it was me, I would register and get my ID in the state that I was stationed in, rather than going back to my home state. But, like I said, it goes right along with whatever the state laws decide. So that will have to be a question of the constitutionality of the Nevada law. So we will see what happens there. But if Nevada is filing the criminal complaint, then it stands to reason that the AG of Nevada does know that there's something not above board here. So this will be one to watch as well. Let's keep going here. From 3 News Las Vegas, not New Vegas, Las Vegas. Trump campaign, Nevada GOP awaits Nevada Supreme Court appeal on mail-in ballots. From Steve Wolford. The Nevada Trump campaign continues to express frustration that mail-in ballots continue to be processed without meaningful observation, while it waits for its appeal to be heard before the Nevada Supreme Court. In a written statement on Wednesday, Nevada Trump campaign co-chair Adam Laxalt said, "The fact remains that hundreds of thousands of ballots have been counted in Clark County, as a judge and the Secretary of State have confirmed. We have not been allowed to observe or challenge a single signature match for these votes." Laxalt adds, "With the issues that have been reported regarding the election, we are now more than ever concerned with the lack of transparency in observing and challenging possible invalid ballots." Nevada AG Aaron Ford responded saying that the GOP lawsuit lacks merit. Of course it does. Because it's not Russian collusion! What we have seen is unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud, not having access to the observation opportunities that are provided by the law, and that is, again, entirely inaccurate, Ford said. But even in the order granting the expedited hearing on that, Ford added the court noted that there was no real evidence to demonstrate that they even deserved a stay of the counting process. So, Clark County, for example, continues to count. The GOP did, however, win an election emergency order in Clark County District Court to allow 30 polling places to remain open an extra hour until 8 p.m. after they encountered technical issues in the morning that prevented voters from casting in-person ballots. According to UNLV Associate Professor of Political Science Rebecca Gill, the Republican Party's legal moves are calculated. It's strategic in a way to count the votes that are likely to be favorable to Republicans, which are on the day of election returns, as opposed to those mail-in ballots, which, as we're seeing around the country, tend to lean more in favor of the Democrats. No shit, Sherlock. The president came out and said throughout the entire season, vote in person, don't vote by mail. It's unsafe, there's going to be fraud, they're going to throw your ballot out. So, of course, his sycophantic followers came out and said, okay, we're going to go vote in person. Meanwhile, up until 3 weeks ago, every single left-wing politician says, if you step outside of your house for 3 days, for more than a minute, you're going to die of coronavirus. You have to vote by mail. You have to. Don't vote any other way. So of course, vote by mail is going to favor Democrats. That's not even being challenged right now. What's being challenged is, as Tim Pool pointed out, and he showed it with everything proper blanked out, that he got a ballot mailed to his house in his state. Is he in New Jersey or Philly? I think he's in Jersey. Yeah, by Jersey state law, in his house, he got a ballot sent to somebody who hadn't lived there in years. And we're seeing more of that happen around the country. So signature validation of who was supposed to be on there on the registration. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely do that. So the validity is what they're challenging, not necessarily where they come from. But we'll see what happens off of that. And honestly, if everything is above board, I don't know why these election counters don't think it's proper for people to be able to watch it. But look for transparency in the federal government, I guess. Let's keep going. From the blaze, after social media posts appear to show deceased individuals voting in Michigan, the Michigan Secretary of State responds. From Chris Pandolfo. The Michigan Secretary of State's office on Thursday responded to a viral social media post showing what appears to be a deceased man who would be 118 years old voting absentee in Michigan. YouTube personality Fleckus on Thursday posted screenshots taken from a Michigan Voter Information Center website appearing to show a man named William Bradley, born in 1902, having applied for and cast an absentee ballot in the 2020 election. An additional screenshot of what appears to be U.S. Social Security records show that Bradley died in 1984. Fleckus posted a link to the Michigan Voter Index and invited his followers to try to look up Bradley's voter registration information themselves. And there's the tweet. Turns out 118-year-old William Bradley voted via absentee ballot in Wayne County, Michigan. William Bradley died in 1984. How long has this been going on? The Blaze searched for William Bradley using Michigan's voter registration index and successfully found his voter registration information. Bradley is registered to vote in Detroit, Michigan at Precinct 141. His polling location is Plymouth United Church of Christ at 600 East Warren Avenue, Detroit, Michigan, 48201. Bye-bye, YouTube. Apparently I might have just doxed somebody, but... His election clerk is Janice Winfrey. According to the Secretary of State's website, Bradley requested an absentee ballot on September 11th, 2020. The ballot was received by election officials on October 2nd of 2020. The Blaze contacted the Michigan Secretary of State's office, which gave the following statement. Ballots of voters who have died are rejected in Michigan, even if the voter cast an absentee ballot and then died before Election Day. On rare occasions, a ballot received for a living voter may be recorded in a way that makes it appear as if the voter is dead. This can be because of voters with similar names, where the ballot is accidentally recorded as voted by John Smith Sr. when it was actually voted by John Smith Jr., or because of inaccurately recorded birth dates in the qualified voter file. For example, somebody born in 1990 accidentally recorded as born in 1890. In such scenarios, no one ineligible has actually voted, and there's no impact on the outcome of the election. Local clerks can correct the issue when it is brought to their attention. The Blaze also reached out to the local clerk, Janice Winfrey, for comment, but she did not immediately respond. Fleckus posted several more videos of incredibly aged individuals who are still registered to vote and have apparently cast absentee ballots. Which, and, like I said, purge the voter rolls is the best thing that you can do. I push for that all the time in Wisconsin. Always purge the voter rolls. Purge them, purge them, purge them. Purge those voter rolls. That's what we should be doing. That's what we need to be doing right now. Purge the voter rolls. There was a Supreme Court case in Wisconsin that just came through, and now they're not allowed to purge the voter rolls. But, honestly, every state, and of course I can't legislate to every state in Article 2, Section 1, but every state should have voter ID. They're not all going to, because that's going to fly in the face of election integrity and the Constitution, but everybody who lives in every state should be lobbying to have voter ID in their state. Voter rolls should be purged after the presidential election every 4 years or the midterm election every 2 years. Those rolls should be just purged there, and then every state should also have same-day registration. Same-day voter registration. I can walk up, like I'm moving in the spring. So for the 2022 midterm, I can walk up to the polling place in my new district with my voter ID and register on election day as a voter. But unfortunately, somebody in my small town here that I will not name once again can go back and see that I'm still registered in my small town to vote here. But yes, I can absolutely walk up and vote and register in person on the day of election, and everything's going to be fine. And everybody in every state across the country should have the same ability to do so. That would fix a lot of these voter issues, but of course, there's vested interest in not having a lot of these voter issues fixed. Let's keep going. From Axios, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz back Trump's baseless claims of rigged election. From Jacob Knudsen. Senators Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham supported a number of President Trump's unsubstantiated claims of widespread voter fraud and election corruption on Fox News' Hannity on Wednesday night. Why it matters. A number of Republicans, including top Trump advisor Chris Christie, have rebuked the president for failing to provide evidence for his claims that the Democrats are stealing the election. Graham and Cruz, two of the most prominent Republicans in the Senate, are sticking by Trump. Fact check. Both Cruz and Graham claimed that partisan election observers in Philadelphia were being denied access to observe the counting of ballots there, though that was not the Trump campaign's original complaint. The campaign complained that its observers could not get close enough to see whether mail-in ballot envelopes had signatures along with eligible voters' names and addresses, according to the AP. Yeah. That's the same as not being allowed access. On Wednesday, a Philadelphia lower court ruled that both Republican and Democrat poll watchers would both be allowed within 6 feet of ballot counting at the Pennsylvania Convention Center, rather than the previous 20 feet perimeter, according to the CBS affiliate in the city. Social distancing. Graham, who just won re-election on Tuesday in what was expected to be one of the most competitive races of his Senate career, told Hannity that everything should be on the table when asked whether the Pennsylvania state legislature should invalidate the delegates that the state voters selected. So we will see what is going on with that, but yeah, definitely there's some funky stuff going on here. All right, let's keep going. From Fox News, we're already halfway through. 40 minutes in, but we're already halfway through. Let's keep going. Graham announces $500,000 donation to Trump campaign legal efforts, calls Philly elections crooked as a snake. That's crooked as a snake, man. Y'all want power. I hope you never get it. From Charles Creatz. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham told Hannity Thursday that he will donate $500,000 to the Trump campaign's legal efforts to challenge election procedures in multiple states, including Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Nevada. I'm here tonight to stand with President Trump, Graham told host Sean Hannity. He stood with me. He's the reason we're going to have a Senate majority. He helped the Senate Republicans. We're going to pick up House seats because of the campaign that President Trump won. Discussing the ongoing ballot counting in Philadelphia that has shrunk the president's lead over Democrat Joe Biden, Graham described the elections in the city of brotherly love as being crooked as a snake. Earlier Thursday, one Pennsylvania Republican lawmaker called on Secretary of the Commonwealth Kathy Boockvar, the cabinet official who oversees the elections, to resign, saying that she had failed to deploy even the minimum safeguards to secure Pennsylvania's election. State Senator Doug Mastriano compared the Pennsylvania election process to one he observed as a U.S. Army officer in Afghanistan. International Security Assistance Force provided oversight and security to Afghan elections, a country that had never witnessed an honest election. The elections that we oversaw were safe and fair, Mastriano wrote. That's That's something when an army officer is saying that Afghanistan now has better and more secure elections than the U.S. does. Even though I don't really think that there are a lot of people in Afghanistan, and I could be wrong, I have no idea, but I don't think there are a lot of people out there. All right, let's keep going. Nick Sarwark had a very, very not self-aware tweet. So Ronna McDaniel tweets out, Democrats are trying to get away with the lack of transparency at polling stations. Fact check true. In Michigan, they kicked out poll watchers and put up boards so we could not watch. It's outrageous. We're fighting back. And I don't know if we need to go over the interview with this, but the reality of this is the fact that Nick Sarwark chose to retweet this out with the message, political parties pay a price for choosing incompetent chairs. Yes, Nick Sarwark tweeted that. In a stunning lack of self-awareness. Honestly, and I'm friends with a piece of party leadership for the LP. But even still, one of the biggest problems that LP proper has is its leadership. But take that for what it will for a party that expresses mostly anarchy and yet still has leadership. I don't know. We'll figure that one out as we go. From the USA Today, Libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen pulls some votes from Biden and Trump, calls election a wake-up call. Third-party candidate gets votes from other two candidates. I don't know why this is news, but let's just read on this briefly. Libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen spent Tuesday night at her election watch party in Dallas. I believe that is where Elaine was, too. By Thursday, she was back on Clemson University's campus to teach her in-person class. In addition to being the first female Libertarian nominee for president, Jorgensen, 63, is a psychology lecturer who has juggled teaching with running campaigns since her nomination this summer. And while the White House is impossible for third-party candidates, she's on pace to get 1.1% of the national vote, according to the latest results. Jorgensen and the Libertarians pulled thousands of crucial votes away from Democrat and Republican candidates in several battleground states. And a lot of Republicans and Democrats right now are pissed off about this. And I'm going to say the same thing that I said to Jorgensen and the LP, who got pissed at me for the fact that I wouldn't vote for Jorgensen, as well as Howie, whatever the fuck his name is, over in the Green Party, as well as Trump, when up until just a couple weeks ago I wasn't going to vote for him, as well as Biden. If you want the votes, put up better candidates. Plain and simple. If you want those 1%, 1.1% of the people, put up better candidates. That's your solution right there. Let's keep going. From the Daily Wire. Watch, The Daily Show imagines blowing up Florida after Trump wins, from Paul Bois. It appears that The Daily Show hates Florida with such a degree of passion for voting for Trump that the creators are now imagining the state's destruction. In a video posted on Tuesday during the election, The Daily Show featured the famed Death Star superlaser blasting the state of Florida into thin air. Do we have this technology yet? Said the Post. And we're going to watch it. People on social media seem to agree and cheered on the destruction of Florida. Well, I mean, hurricane season does that every year, so I don't know what that would accomplish. But either way, it's a dick move. Thank you, Daily Show, for that. Let's keep going. From NBC News. Skip. From The Blaze. Andrew Yang tells Democrats they have lost touch with the working class. Liberals lash out at him on social media. From Carlos Garcia. The former presidential candidate and entrepreneur Andrew Yang scolded the Democrat Party on CNN on Thursday, telling them that they had lost touch with the working class, and liberals responded by excoriating him on social media. Yang made the comments while on CNN Thursday evening, discussing the results of the election and the disappointing losses to Democrats in Congress. He explained that when he was the candidate, he would tell working class Americans that he was running as a Democrat, and that they would often flinch as he said something negative. There's something deeply wrong when working class Americans have that response to a major party that theoretically is supposed to be fighting for them. And you have to ask yourself, what has the Democratic Party been standing for in their minds? Yang said. And in their minds, the Democrat Party unfortunately has taken on this role of coastal urban elites who are more concerned about policing various cultural issues than improving their way of life. That has been declining for years, he explained. And so, if you're in that situation, this, to me, is a fundamental problem for the Democratic Party, because if they don't figure it out, then polarization and division will get much worse, not better. Now, kneel down, and I will give you the ready whip in your mouth. Is that the real messaging or both? Is that real or messaging or both? Asked CNN host Don Lemon. It's real. I mean, the Democratic representative, Debbie Dingell of Michigan, just said she lost a plant that had 1,500 workers. And so, if you're a laid-off worker from a plant, then you look up and say, what is the Democrat Party doing for me? It is unclear, Yang responded. And we can talk about a unifying message from Joe Biden. He is a naturally unifying figure, he continued. But then there's the reality on the ground that where their way of life has been disintegrating for years, and if we don't address that, then you're going to see a continued acceleration towards institutional mistrust that animated the Trump vote and will continue to do so. Oh. While Yang's criticism of the Democrat Party has been echoed by many pundits and political activists, some liberals on social media lashed out at him in anger against the constructive criticism. Shut the fuck up, Andrew Yang. The working class is women and Latinos and black people and queer people. We are the working class. Fuck you, said the feminist atheist writer Marcy Bianco in a tweet. If you say working class, your white supremacy is showing. The end, she added in a second tweet before she made her account private. Andrew Yang is a clown and a buffoon who is here using anti-Semitic and homophobic tropes because he, and this is true, he's also an asshole, tweeted liberal commentator Noah Berlotsky. Hey, Andrew Yang, you're from New York. You were a corporate lawyer, then a dot-com profiteer. You are the coastal urban elite, tweeted journalist David Perry. So Andrew Yang called out the religion of these people, and it is a religion by this point. It is a religion, absolutely 100%. And they roasted him for it. Hey, Yang, I think your UBI idea sucks fucking balls. But come on over to the other side, or even the LP, and we'll discuss it. We'll at least have the conversation. I'm not just going to dismiss you because you don't go into my religion. And I can't speak for all right-wing people, because some of them are going to just dismiss you because you disagree with their religion and you want UBI. But you know, over here, we'll at least have the discussion. Let's keep going. I would love to actually sit down and interview Andrew Yang. I think he'd be a cool guy to talk to. I think he'd be an awesome guy to talk to. Maybe see if he can try to convince me of the UBI because his little simp army over on Twitter of blue hats couldn't do it. Let's see what's happening in Oregon. Finally, after election, Oregon Democrat governor asked for National Guard to stop Portland rioters from Hank Berrien. On Wednesday night, after months of violent rioting in the city of Portland, Democrat Oregon Governor Kate Brown finally ordered the National Guard to go to Portland. Brown had directed the National Guard to be on standby mode on Monday. The Multnomah County Sheriff announced the move on Twitter and explained the rationale. Unified Command on National Guard activation while in downtown Portland. It's been doing it for 6 fucking months. In the interest of public safety, Governor Kate Brown, under the advice of Unified Command, has activated the use of Oregon National Guard to assist local law enforcement. By 7 p.m., rioters were seen vandalizing buildings, including breaking the windows of a St. Andrea Bassett Church, which helps those who are homeless, experiencing poverty, mental health issues, and substance abuse. Did I just lose D-Live? Hang on. Let's check the connection here. Give me 1 second. Because my monitor just went down. Nope, I'm up on DLive according to this, so I don't know why it's not coming up on my monitor, but we'll see. Oh, it's back up. All right, just want to make sure we don't lose it. Let's keep going. Where was I? On-air production, the thing that we do with duct tape. By 7 p.m., rioters were seen vandalizing buildings, including breaking the windows of St. Andrea Bassett Church, which helps those who are homeless, experiencing poverty, mental health issues, and substance abuse. They also broke ATMs. An American flag was also set on fire in the middle of a downtown street. So, yes, after 6 months, now she wants the National Guard help. Because now it doesn't seem like she's going to be asking for it from Trump. They don't want to go into a Biden presidency with violence going on in the streets. Like I said, and I said this right from the beginning, the problem with these Democrat governors letting violence run wild in the streets wasn't the fact that they wanted the anarchy, and that was a false statement from the Trump campaign, that under a Biden presidency this would continue and keep going because these were strong Democrat cities. Yes, the violence and the riots would keep going until the governors and the mayors said, okay, we want the help. We just don't want it to come from Trump. So they're more than happy to take National Guard help. They just want it to come from Biden. And I said that right from the beginning. So, yeah. I could do the razor fist thing on that one. I don't know. Would I be stealing the trope? Would it be proper? I'm not going to do it right now. But I could. Let's keep going. From Newsweek. Dems disagree in leaked caucus call. Representative Tlaib says progressive wing is not to blame for the losses. From Catherine Fung. A leaked caucus call between congressional Democrats on Thursday has revealed growing tension between the more progressive wing of the party and moderate lawmakers. Joe Biden and I shouldn't be in the same party. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sent a strong message to her colleagues that swinging too left will cost the party their chances should the Georgia Senate races advance to runoffs, an opportunity that could give Democrats a tie with Republicans in the Senate if both Democrat candidates won the seats in the state. To obtain a Senate majority, Democrats would need to pick up a seat in either Alaska or North Carolina. Though, should the election result in a 50-50 split, Kamala Harris or Mike Pence would be the deciding vote as vice president. But messages that some Democrats are too progressive face pushback from members of Congress who hope to see sweeping changes. Michigan Representative Rashida Tlaib said on the call that the party needs to do a real autopsy and dig through it before attacking each other. Tlaib, who was reelected this year, is a member of the four progressive congresswomen known as the Squad. During the call, Virginia Rep. Abigail Spanberger blamed more progressive lawmakers for races the party did lose in the general election. Don't blame myself and others who are fighting for issues that matter to our communities. We're just going to impeach those motherfuckers, Tlaib said. So, yeah, they're going on a deep division here, which, honestly, if they come into power, for whatever reason, I do want to sit back and watch the collapse, because there will be a collapse if they do. But speaking of collapse, I've got 4 more here, then we will read the names of everybody in. So if you're lurking right now, get your message in so I can read your name and thank you. And then I've got everything from all week as well. From the Daily Wire. Can she survive? Some Democrats mull ousting House Speaker Pelosi after dismal election showing. From Joseph Curl. Things did not go well for House Democrats on Election Day. While some races are still being tabulated, Democrats lost some of their most vulnerable members and have not picked off a single Republican incumbent heading into Wednesday evening, The Hill reported. After all the votes are counted, Republicans could end up gaining as many as 10 House seats. The dismal performance, Democrats were expected to add seats, not lose them, has once again sparked talks of ousting 80-year-old House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The California Democrat has served the House for 33 years and held 2 stints as Speaker, but her time at the top may be coming to an end, and that talk is coming from at least 2 moderate members of the party. 2 centrist Democrats told The Hill on Wednesday that they were reaching out to colleagues about backing one of Pelosi's top lieutenants, House Democrat Caucus Chairman Hakeem Jeffries, for Speaker in the next Congress. He's the only one prepared and positioned to be Speaker, one of the Democrat lawmakers told the political website. He bridges moderates and progressives better than anyone. Really? Because I've seen his record, and he seems pretty progressive. At which point I want to say, do it! Because I want to see what happens in 2022 if you do. And most importantly, he's not Nancy Pelosi. Jeffries, for his part, told The Hill that he's focused on his current job. Ousting a presiding speaker is a dangerous undertaking. Lawmakers may grumble behind the scenes, but should they band together for a coup and fail, they become targets. That's why most often the coup is usually heard only on the corridors of the Capitol until it blows up. Once that happens, everyone comes out of the woodwork like roaches. There were rumors in 2019 that some Democrats would make a move to unseat Pelosi, but that never reached critical mass. Yet the shifting House after Tuesday's election might put Pelosi in a tough position. A slew of moderate lawmakers whose wins in the 2018 midterms handed the gavel again to Pelosi have lost or are on track to lose their seats, the Daily Beast reported. Meanwhile, several establishment Democrats are set to be replaced by staunch progressives, shifting Democrats' political center of gravity further left in the lower chamber of Congress. I hope that they put somebody really, really progressive in there because I want to see the fireworks. I want to see the fireworks. All right, let's keep going. From the Blaze. Defiant Trump declares victory, promises a lot of litigation. So he gave a speech last night, and nobody's talking about it except for, well, this is how terrible, this is how much he's lied. No other news story is on the top, anywhere on the Google News tab, by the way, other than how much he lied off of this. Nothing objective. Just, this is how much Trump lied. This one is from Leon Wolf. A somber but defiant President Trump announced in a hastily called news conference on Thursday that his campaign believes that they've won all the votes that have been legally cast and promised a lot of litigation regarding the outcome of the election. If you count the legal votes, I easily win, Trump said. Trump harshly criticized the mail-in voting system, as he has all year, and blamed the system for what he viewed as widespread election fraud. They want to find out how many votes they need, and then they seem to be able to find them. They wait, and they find them, and you see that on election night, Trump said. It's amazing how those mail-in ballots are so one-sided. They're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election. And we can't let that happen, Trump continued. Trump also blasted what he called a corrupt Democrat machines in Pennsylvania and Michigan and blamed them for the process. He also specifically called out the cities of Detroit and Pennsylvania, saying that they cannot be responsible for engineering the outcome of a presidential race. He further promised an aggressive legal challenge to the outcome of several races and promised that his team would provide evidence of fraud. He specifically claimed that his campaign had found evidence that people had voted in Nevada, even though they no longer lived in the state. Trump's comments come as his margins in several key states appear to be moving in a critical direction. As of the time of publication of this article, his lead in Pennsylvania has dropped to less than 100,000 votes as the state continues to count mail-in ballots. Additionally, as the vote is being finalized in Georgia, Trump's lead in the deep red state had shrunk to less than 4,000 votes. If Trump loses either state, he will likely be mathematically eliminated from contention. So, something to watch off of there. And yeah, I want to see. It's not necessarily that I want to see Trump win again. I kind of do, because I'm afraid of what President Harris will do. But on the same time, if this is really going on so much that we can so easily joke about it, then let's get it fucking fixed. Plain and simple. All right, let's keep going. Just 2 more, and then we're done. No, I don't want notifications from Oklahoma City's 4 because I don't live in Oklahoma City, and it doesn't really affect me what goes on there. Bismarck, North Dakota. North Dakota's AG says Governor Doug Burgum has no authority to appoint a coal company executive to fill a state House seat won by a Republican candidate who died before the election. Burgum announced Wednesday that he was appointing BNI Energy President Wade Beauchene to the seat won Tuesday by David Andal, who died last month from COVID-19. We don't know what he actually died for, but he's on paper as dying of COVID-19. Attorney General Wayne Steneham says Burgum's appointment of Beauchene on the day following the election was inaccurate and untimely. Andal and Dave Naringel were top vote getters for the 2 open house seats on Tuesday over a pair of Democrat candidates. And I don't know what North Dakota state constitution is. This is a state seat, right? Yep, state house seat. So that will depend on what is in North Dakota's constitution, whether or not they can. But if it follows the way that the U.S. Constitution does, and actually Wisconsin's Constitution, regarding the assembly, which is similar to what North Dakota's House is, if it follows the same pattern then no, you can't just appoint somebody for that. That does go to a special election. So that House seat will sit unfilled if it's the same way. Like I said, I don't know North Dakota state constitution. But if it's the same way, then that House seat will go unfilled until they can pull together another special election and put a new candidate in. So that's what we'll see out of North Dakota. And the last one I hear comes from Ron Helton. And I wanted to make sure that we all send our prayers out to Ron Helton from KOCO5 News. Also out of Oklahoma City, I believe. Yep. Thousands still without power 9 days after ice storms hit Oklahoma, from Patrina Odger, I think. OG&E reports that just fewer than 93,000 customers are still in the dark more than a week after last week's historic ice storms. Some people who are going on 9 days without power expressed their frustration to KOCO5. "It's true, we need help," said Melody Haas, who lives in the village. Haas told KOCO5 that she has a disability and has lived in the cold without power for 8 days. "It's horrible, makes me want to cry." For James Palmer, who also lives in the village, it's been 9 days since the power went out. "It's tough. I have my generator," Palmer said. He said his generator has kept some of his appliances in the house, but it's costing him $35 a day in gas. OG&E actually doesn't know a time it'll be back on, Palmer said. They're saying November 6th, saying the 9th. Who knows? Both Palmer and Haas are growing impatient by the day, especially because their neighbors across the street have power. So, if you know somebody in Oklahoma, give them a call, check, make sure they have power. I'm pretty sure Ron has power because he's been tweeting back and forth, and he's been sending me messages on Discord, and he's been in the chat all week. This is actually the first day that he hasn't been really active in the chat today. So if you know somebody in Oklahoma, let them know that you're thinking about them. And that is going to be it for the news for the day and for the week. There's probably more going on here, but we just don't have time to get to it, unfortunately. But that's what we got so far. And the last thing that we do on Friday is read the names of everybody who's chatting in here. It looks like I might have some lurkers, so we're going to hold off and read the today's chat at the end. So if you've got a message and you want to get recognized, throw a message up in the live chat now. But starting on Monday, we had Ron Helton, Iama Fago, Chilaga 1984, Spartan 0000, Superior 1, Jeffy Time, that was a new name in here I hadn't seen before. Welcome on in. And Quest Fanning came in over on the Periscope side on Tuesday. Tuesday was a busy day in the live chat. We had Ron Helton, Watching Trains Go By. Maddie, who was my special guest over on the Red Net Show this past week, came in and hung out with us. Chilaga 1984. Usul 420, that was a new name in here over on the D Live side. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us. Seawall, Iama Fago, Referral, who keeps asking me during this chat what my economic stances are, and I keep not telling that person because I don't read the live chat in. And if he had popped in today, I would have told him where my economic stances were, but he's not in today. I've got a J. Steven and an Oddly Lily. Thank you for coming in and chatting on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Spartan 0000 Superior. Shialaga 1984. Ron Helton, Unsatiable 1776, who was in and trolling in the video game stream last night. I have no idea if this kid is serious or not, but he is hilarious. I'll give him that. Yamafego. Luca Hearted Animal Lover popped in over on Twitch. That was a new name. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. Blind Fear popped in on Wednesday and hung out with us for a little bit. Della Marcus and Iowa Ezekiel 296461 hung out with us Wednesday. Yesterday, we had Ron Helton, Spartan, Daba Cannabis was in here, Poops Knives, Diligent Ace 1, Flan Corp, Maddie once again was in here, Joe Biden's Finger showed up, and Referral once again. Hopefully Referral will come in on tomorrow because I am planning on having some sort of Q&A tomorrow. I don't know if I'll do a call-in show or a roundtable. I've got some lines out for a roundtable to see if we can do that, so we'll see what happens there. Hopefully he'll get in here for today, which I expected was not quite as busy because, yeah, I'm sure people are getting sick of hearing about the election. I know I caught some sentiment on this over on the Periscope side here. Today we had Ron Helton with the AOC sticker and the thumbs up, Blind Fear with the thumbs up. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Blind Fear sent me a link, which I'm going to check out after the show and see what it is. Greg Holman, 1989, says, Sup fam? How we doing, Greg? Thanks for coming by and hanging out. Ron Helton says, good morning. Marty over on the Periscope side says, makes me not want to vote. This was a coup that they're going to get away with. Maybe. And like I said earlier, we all know this has been going on for generations. If we can come back and actually see something done about it, then maybe the next generation doesn't have to come back and say, oh, look at all these emergency ballots that they found. Blind Fear says apparently there's some watermark put on every ballot. Blind Fear says, he also gave me the YouTube link over on DLive side. Ron Helton says, my router keeps rebooting this morning, and that's going to be it for the day here. So we will be back here tomorrow. Come hell or high water, I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, taking your questions, so make sure you get them in. Whether I have guests on with me, or whether I'm by myself, or whether I'll be listening to your calls. That is yet to be determined. I hope that we can get another roundtable going on, because I want to get a few specific opinions on what happened through this. So come and join us tomorrow, no matter how we do this. Or we'll be back here on Monday for more contemporary. Or Elaine will be returning to the Red Ned Show, so we'll see what happens with that. Either way, we hope to see you. We hope to hang out with you. And we'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. And thank you, Dabba, for getting your last minute message in too, by the way.